She called because she needed help. Her brothers showed up because they loved her. And before that morning was over, she was running out of that apartment covered in blood. And both of her brothers were dead. The man who did it was her boyfriend. Now here is the part that will stop you cold. Most people who commit a crime run. They hide. They deny everything. Antoine Carter walked straight up to the officers standing outside that building, gun still in his pocket, and told them, "I am the one." 2 brothers were dead inside that apartment, and he walked outside and introduced himself to the police. Make it make sense. This is the story of Gianni and Jaime Pierre, 2 brothers from Miami who went to check on their sister and never came back home. And this is the story of what domestic violence really looks like. Not just for the person inside the relationship, but for everyone who loves them. Let me tell you something. Before we even get to what happened inside that apartment, you need to understand who these young men were and why they showed up that morning in the first place. Gianni Pierre was 28 years old. His brother Jaime was 23. They were brothers, born into the same family, raised in the same home, and by every account, close enough to each other and their sister that when something felt wrong, they moved together. That is the kind of bond that does not need a phone call to activate. You just know. And they knew. Their sister was in a relationship with a 31-year-old man named Antoine Carter. Now, the sources do not paint a detailed picture of how long that relationship had been going on or exactly what had been happening inside of it. But what the sources do tell us is that the brothers showed up that morning specifically because they were worried about her. Worried she was in danger. Worried she was being hurt. That is not a casual visit. That is not a coincidence. When 2 grown men make the decision to physically go to a location because they fear for their sister's safety, something had already been communicated. Something had already been felt. Come to think of it, that instinct was right. It was exactly right. And it cost them everything. Antoine Carter, 31 years old at the time, was the man their sister had been seeing. That is really all the sources give us about him before that morning. No deep history. No childhood backstory to explain anything. Ain't gonna lie, sometimes there is no clean explanation for what a person chooses to do. What we do know is what he did, and the evidence left. The apartment was located at 5329 Northwest 17th Avenue in Miami's Liberty City neighborhood. A building with neighbors close enough to hear everything through the walls. Close enough that when the shots went off, one woman in the building said she was woken from a dead sleep. She counted them. 5 gunshots. Then a door slammed. Then nothing. That is the world this happened in. Close quarters. A Saturday morning. People still sleep. And somewhere on the second floor of that building, a situation that had been building in private was about to explode in a way that the entire neighborhood would feel. Here is where the story shifts from painful to deliberate. When investigators later pulled the CCTV footage from that building, what they saw on that camera was not a man who arrived looking to talk things out. The footage showed Antoine Carter outside that apartment door, yelling, banging, not knocking, banging. The kind of energy that tells you the conversation, whatever it was already past the point of being calm before it even started. Now think about what that means for a second. The brothers are inside that apartment with their sister. Carter is on the other side of the door, loud, aggressive, demanding to be let in. In that moment, the people inside that apartment had to make a decision, and someone opened the door. The moment that door opened, Carter did not step in to talk. According to the arrest report, he charged in, and as he moved through that doorway, he reached into his front right pocket. Let that land for a second. He charged in and reached into his pocket. That is not a man who came to have a conversation. That sequence, the yelling, the banging, the charging, the reach, tells you exactly what the intent was. The CCTV footage did not lie. The arrest report did not lie. And what happened next inside that apartment confirmed everything that footage had already shown. Immediately after he reached into that pocket, the neighbors heard it. 5 shots. One woman described it exactly like that. Said she was woken from a dead sleep by the sound of it underneath her balcony, and then heard a door slam. That slam was the sister running out. She came through that door covered in blood, and when police made contact with her, she told them what happened. She told them the man who just shot her brothers was her boyfriend. Gianni and Pierre were hit multiple times. One of them was already dead inside the apartment by the time officers arrived. The other was rushed to the hospital. He did not survive either. 2 brothers, gone in the same morning, in the same apartment, because they came to check on their sister. Looking back now, the cruelest part of all of this is the reason they were there in the first place. They did not come to pick a fight. They came because they were scared for her. And the very thing they feared was happening. It turned on them too. How did we get here? How does a morning like that become the last morning 2 brothers ever have? It makes no sense. And yet, here we are. When those 5 shots went off inside that apartment on the 2nd floor, the building changed. The air changed. Everything that had been a normal Saturday morning for everyone living in that building, gone. Just like that. Inside that apartment, Gianni and Pierre had been shot multiple times. Multiple times. These were not warning shots. This was not a struggle where a gun went off by accident. Carter had reached into that pocket with intention, and he followed through on it completely. Gianni, the older brother at 28, was dead before anyone even had a chance to call for help. Jaheim, 23 years old, was still breathing, barely, and was rushed to the hospital the moment emergency services arrived. But he did not make it either. He died at the hospital. Both brothers. Same morning, same apartment. Gone. And their sister, the woman this whole situation was centered around. She ran. She came flying out of that apartment door covered in blood. And the people who heard the shots and the chaos from their own units now had eyes on what had just happened. A woman, bloodied, running. That image alone should tell you everything about the kind of violence that had just taken place inside that apartment. Anyways, when they arrived at 5329 Northwest 17th Avenue, the scene met them immediately. A woman, their sister, bloodied and distressed, told them what happened. She told them her boyfriend had shot her brothers. She did not hesitate. She did not protect him. She told them exactly who did it and exactly what he was to her. That took something. In the middle of that kind of shock and grief, to be that clear, that took something real. But here is the thing. By the time officers were processing what they had just been told, they did not even have to go looking for Antoine Carter. He came to them. Let me tell you something. In almost every crime case, the investigation part, detectives canvassing, forensics working the scene, witnesses being interviewed over days, sometimes weeks, suspects going quiet, getting lawyers, disappearing. That is usually how it goes. This was not that. While detectives were still actively working the scene outside that building, still piecing together what had just happened, still taking in the full picture of what the sister had just told them, a man walked up, approached the officers directly, and said, "I am the one. I have the firearm." Just like that. No chase, no search, no tip from a neighbor. He walked up and handed them the case. And when they checked, the gun was right there, in his pocket. He had not dropped it, had not thrown it somewhere in the building, had not tried to get rid of the one piece of evidence that connected him directly to 2 dead men upstairs. He still had it on him, moving on, because the confession alone was not even the only thing police had. When investigators later reviewed the CCTV footage from the building, it filled in everything before the shots. Carter on camera, outside that apartment door, yelling, banging. The footage showed the door opening and Carter charging through it, reaching into his front right pocket as he moved. Immediately after that moment on the tape, the shots followed. The footage was not ambiguous. It did not leave room for a story about self-defense or confusion or a situation that got out of hand. It showed a man who arrived at that door already escalated, forced his way in, and fired. And just to be clear about what the investigation revealed in terms of motive, the brothers were there because they were worried. According to police, Gianni and Jaheim had gone to that apartment to check on their sister. That was their reason for being there. Not to confront Carter, not to start anything, to check on her. And when they arrived, things between Carter and the brothers escalated into a physical confrontation. And Carter chose to end it the way he did. Come to think of it, that detail changes the weight of this entire case, because it means the brothers walked into danger trying to pull their sister away from it. And Carter, rather than backing down, rather than leaving, rather than letting them take her somewhere safe, he left, came back, and opened fire. The sources indicate he left the scene at some point and then returned. That is not a man who lost his temper in the heat of a moment. That is a man who made a choice, acted on it, and then walked out and told police exactly what he did. Ain't gonna lie, that sequence of events is one of the most chilling things about this whole case. He left, and then he came back, with the gun still in his pocket, and two brothers paid for that decision with their lives. Antoine Carter was taken into custody at the scene. No struggle, no resistance. He had already said what he needed to say. The gun was already recovered. The sister had already identified him. The CCTV footage was already waiting for investigators. There was nowhere for this case to go except forward. Two brothers, two charges, and a man sitting in a jail cell that he walked into willingly. You have two brothers. Saturday morning, they are gone. Monday, you are in a courtroom. The speed of that kind of loss does something to a person that does not just heal with time. And the sister? She survived. She is alive. But she ran out of that apartment covered in her brother's blood. That is something she carries now, for the rest of her life. Because she was in a relationship with a man who thought the answer to her brother's showing up was a gun. There is a version of that Saturday morning where the Pierre family gets a phone call saying their sister is safe, where the brothers pull up, check on her, maybe help her grab some things, and everybody goes home. That version exists. It was possible. And it did not happen, because one man decided it would not. That is the part that does not leave you. Gianni Pierre was 28 years old. Jaheim Pierre was 23. They had names. They had people who loved them. They had futures that were interrupted on a Saturday morning in Miami because they chose to show up for their sister. That choice, the one that came from love, from concern, from the kind of loyalty that brothers carry for their sisters, that is the choice that cost them their lives. And there is something deeply painful about sitting with that truth, because it means that doing the right thing in that moment led to the worst possible outcome. But here is what this case keeps bringing back around to. The brothers did not create the danger. They walked into danger that already existed, a danger that had been living inside that relationship long before they arrived at that door. And the question that cases like this one always force us to ask is, what were the signs before that morning? What had already been happening that made those brothers worried enough to physically show up? Because when two grown men make that kind of move on a Saturday morning, something had already been said or seen or felt. And whatever that something was, it was serious enough for them to go. Anyways, the world will not always give us a clean answer to that question. The sources do not give us a full picture of what that relationship looked like before that day. But the shape of what happened tells us enough. A man who charges through a door and opens fire on the people inside it. That kind of violence does not appear out of nowhere. It does not show up once, and it does not limit itself